I've just had a bit of melted carrot cake, which is very tasty, with a brew. I don't know what it is about making a brew outdoors, but it always tastes better than the brew you make indoors. Just noticed that. Interesting. Apparently Buttermere Court, where alleged police officer John Wedger did his brew with a view from, it's not very far from here. I'm seriously considering going up there and doing one myself. I'm currently reading Teachings of a Buddhist Monk by Ajahn Sumedho, and Dangerous and Severe Process, Program and Person by Mark Morris. It's about Her Majesty's Prison Grendon. It's about psychopaths. Mark Morris was the director of therapy when I was at Her Majesty's Prison Grendon. I used to know this book inside out. It was my Bible for quite a long time, when I was a practicing Buddhist. But it's interesting to go back through it again. Of course, Buddhist practice is mindfulness, and you get skillful at being mindful by practicing meditation. When I was being diagnosed as a psychopath, at the same time that I was trying to report people that abused me in childhood, Dr. Emma James, who allowed me to believe that she diagnosed me as a psychopath for 7 years, and then told me that she never had any worries or concerns that I may have psychopathy. She talked to me about mindfulness once. That's a conversation that didn't go very well. Apparently the NHS uses mindfulness as a therapeutic tool, but it didn't actually teach meditation to go with it. And it's only my opinion, of course. But you can't really practice mindfulness unless you're practicing meditation. Just seems to be a bit of a fad, you know, within NHS mental health services. One of these things they pick up on. And they can teach it to people in large groups, which of course saves lots of money. It's very inexpensive. But unless you're practicing meditation, that mindfulness teaching that they're giving you is a waste of time, in my opinion. I've met a lot of people passing by from all walks of life. Homeless people, alcoholics, people that have had addiction problems and are overcoming them, going through that process. It's brilliant that they share that with me. And I can genuinely see their hope for the future, you know. And they're pleased about where they are at the moment, you know, overcoming a form of imprisonment, you know, that of addiction. Addiction is a kind of prison. Anyway, interesting enough, people pass by that live in multi-million-pound houses and drive million-pound cars and that sort of thing. But also the homeless people that pass by. I speak to them all. The people that get why I'm here, when they ask me what I'm doing, are the people that have had a rough life. And I suspect that's because they get it much quicker anyway, and that's because they know a little bit how the system works. They understand it, you know. They've been through it themselves. Sometimes we have had shared experiences. Anyway, I've enjoyed talking to all the people that I've spoken to. Met some amazing people. People genuinely interested, you know. Some people come by and ask me why I'm here, and I start to try and tell them, and then they start talking about their difficulties in life. I'll listen to them. I try to listen to them with the same compassion and kindness that some people listen to me, you know. found out that the local MP's name is somebody called Tulip Siddiqui. So I telephoned her office last week, left a message. I told them that there's a man who's a dangerous psychopath protested and camped outside the Tavistock clinic. And if they wanted to know any more, please come down. I'll be happy to speak to them. Nobody's been down. The media haven't been down. No YouTubers have been down. And of course Tim Kent hasn't come down with the letter that I put in subject access request for. He did bring me down 3 letters that I didn't request. I don't know whether that's supposed to annoy me or not, but it's quite weird behaviour. Tim Kent, I shall be asking you about that next time we meet. Of course it's the letter where Dr. Emma James, who'd allowed me to believe that I may have been diagnosed as a psychopath, where my legal status had changed. She allowed me to believe that for 7 years before telling me that at no point did I have any worries or concerns that I may have psychopathy. So I stopped my protest, went back to use the NHS, you know, for healthcare. I'm an old man. Saw Dr. Puxtis, who diagnosed me as a dangerous psychopath. Anyway, I'm really not sure why Tim Kent feels a need to withhold this letter. Maybe it's because I'll get it printed out and I'll put it next to the diagnosis that Dr. Puxtis gave me, so people can see the time period between when Dr. Emma James said there was never any worries or concerns that I may have psychopathy, to when Dr. Puxtis said I'm a dangerous psychopath. Anyway, of course, I'm a very paranoid human being, apparently. Seems a little strange that there's somebody from Plymouth here, and a harassing criminal NHS security guard from Northern Ireland. Anyway, I did say that the Occupy St Paul's thing was a little bit like being at Her Majesty's Prison Grendon, you know, a microcosm of society. And what's happening here at my protest feels a little bit like some kind of psychodrama that might be acted out at Her Majesty's Prison Grendon. It's usually quiet at the weekends here. There's no staff about. Not many passers-by, especially on a hot day. Everybody's out having fun in the sun. Quite right too. One of the neighbours came over with the food the other day, yesterday actually, and we had a nice long chat. They'd been to Wimbledon. It's nice hearing about their experience of Wimbledon. And I just, I think I saw them a little while ago going off to play tennis with their son. That made me really happy. It's lovely to see. I had a couple of nice chats yesterday. I met an Australian woman from Melbourne. Of course, some of the people in my story are also from Melbourne, but a big place, Melbourne. I had a very long chat with a lady called Trina, who got fleeced for £5 by some bloke with some story that he was selling her. She'd only been in the country a day or two. I did tell her to be careful, but she seemed to be on the case anyway. I had a long chat with her. I gave her my YouTube channel. I don't know whether she's thumbing up my videos or subscribed or anything. I don't get comments anymore, which is quite strange. No comments. Everybody seems to be frightened to make a comment. And I had a particularly enjoyable chat with a man called Ernest. The importance of being earnest. He told me that he's an osteopath. He also told me at the beginning of the conversation that he wasn't very good at communicating. I think he was being very modest there. He was very good at communicating, and I really enjoyed chatting to him. Or with him, I should say, really. We had quite a long conversation. And then he went off for his walk around the block. And he came back for another chat. He'd been thinking about what we'd been talking about, what we'd been discussing on his walk, and he came back. He had a lot of very useful insights. Anyway, one thing is true, the NHS seems a bit confused as to whether I'm a psychopath or not. They can't seem to make up their mind. However, there is actually a test for psychopathy, an fMRI scan, a functional magnetic resonance imaging machine, because neuroscience has discovered that the brains of psychopaths are abnormal, and therefore they don't function in the same way that the brains of normal people do. Of course, I've tried extensively to try and get that test done, but nobody will let me have it. I've even offered to pay to have that test, and still people won't let me have it. And I'm wondering why. I can't work out why. I guess if they do the test and find out that I don't have the brain of a psychopath, then it calls into question psychiatrists' ability to diagnose psychopaths, given that that is the only mental health condition that there is actual physical testing to prove one way or another, according to neuroscience. Anyway, I guess I've got very little chance of getting an fMRI scan on my noggin, on my brain, because I can't even get a letter that I've requested, legally requested, in the form of a subject access request, from Tim Kent. Of course, something that Dr. Emma James did state was that that I scored highly in every cluster of personality disorder, and I would therefore have a severe personality disorder. They seem clear about that, that my diagnosis is a severe personality disorder. And there have been a number of programs for people with severe personality disorder. Dangerous and Severe Personality Disorder program, which I've just learned has been replaced by something called PIPE. And I learnt that from somebody who's told me, somebody called Damien, who told me about that. So I looked it up. And Damien claimed to be a teacher here at the Tavistock, teaching about personality disorders. Anyway, I don't know whether that's true or not. Tim Kent had never heard of Damien when I asked him about Damien, but nobody informed me about the Dangerous and Severe Personality Disorder program, even though they'd given me a diagnosis of severe personality disorder, and nobody's informed me of the PIPE program, which has replaced it, which is also for people with severe personality disorder. But then again, I can't even get them to explain my diagnosis. I'm not sure what's going on here. NHS mission statements say they're caring and compassionate and put the patient at the centre of everything they do. I feel a little bit excluded from all of that, I'm afraid. Which is in part why I'm here. But of course there are more serious implications around mental health. Jake Davison is one. Despite what people think, I care a lot about public safety. I've met a lot of very dangerous men, and I have some understanding and insight how they went about and what were the driving forces behind them committing horrific crimes. Anyway, that's a 15-minute waffle from me. Be nice if people shared it, If people do want to help, I guess you could email a newspaper or call a newspaper and tell them what's going on. Tell them that I've been... tell them that former pop star Brian Harvey has fantasies of stabbing me in the neck. I haven't knocked on his door yet, but he's not knocked on mine. Interestingly enough, my stats on YouTube show that most of the people that watch my videos now are non-subscribers, and I don't really get very many views from people who are subscribed, even though I have 603 subscribers. So you have to wonder what's going on there. Another interesting fact is, although I've outed myself as a psychopath in front of the local community, most of the people that stop to chat are women. They seem far more interested than men. I'm not dissing men by saying that. Men have a lot of pressure and stresses on them. I expect women do too, but the percentage of women that stop is far outweighs the percentage of men that stop and chat. And likewise on YouTube. At one point I had 90% of my viewers were female, according to YouTube. But now men seem to be watching my channel a lot. I'm up to sort of 38% of my viewers are men. Sorry if I've let you down, ladies. I'll do my best. Thanks very much.